It'll be the biggest sporting event on earth this year when it kicks off in America, Canada and Mexico this summer. The 2026 FIFA Men's World Cup will attract a global audience of billions. But what will a World Cup in Donald Trump's America really look like? Hello and welcome to Roundtable. I'm Enda Brady. Now, pricey tickets, social media checks at the border, and the threat of matches being moved at short notice. That's just some of what fans can expect at this summer's FIFA World Cup. The United States, Canada and Mexico are co-hosting the event, but one president has dominated the build-up so far, and it's not the FIFA boss.
When it comes to World Cup headlines, one man is stealing the show, Donald Trump.
This is shocking.
United States of America!
At the World Cup draw, he overshadowed the other host country leaders, Mexico's Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo and Canada's Mark Carney. Trump was also awarded the first ever FIFA Peace Prize, leading to accusations of an ethics breach by its president Gianni Infantino. But this year's World Cup, which kicks off in June, is already facing challenges. There have been concerns over fans entering the US as America tightens visa requirements for foreign nationals, adding social media and email checks. President Trump insists World Cup ticket holders will be eligible for priority fast-track visas, with FIFA promising it will help deliver this.
The FIFA Pass is being announced, the prioritized appointment scheduling system. That's the way people will remember it. So if you have a ticket for the World Cup, you can have a prioritized appointment to get your visa, because we said it the very first time we met, Mr. President, America welcomes the world. America will welcome the world here.
FIFA has been criticized for pricing the event too high, with some fans facing costs of up to 5 times higher than in Qatar in 2022.
The prices that have been put up by FIFA are so high. Again, we're a bit stunned, and there's so much in contradiction with the very nature of the tournament, with the history of the tournament, with also the social, cultural background and of the tournament, that we don't see any other solution than to call for a break. In
an attempt to fix this, FIFA has introduced a small number of more affordable $60 tickets for all 104 matches, but this would only be for hundreds of tickets. Plus, Trump warns he could relocate the World Cup matches if Democratic Party-led host cities are deemed unsafe, citing crime concerns.
Any city we think is going to be even a little bit dangerous for the World Cup, because they're playing in so many cities, we won't allow it to go to, we'll move it around a little bit, but I hope that's not going to happen.
So while the football world looks ahead to the World Cup, the spotlight remains firmly on Donald Trump, and the ticket controversies now threatening to overshadow the beautiful game.
Well, let's meet our guests. In Wexford in Ireland, we have Kevin Doyle. Kevin is a former Ireland striker who played in the MLS in the United States for Colorado Rapids. In Madrid in Spain, we have Cristina Guyon. She is a TV journalist and presenter. In London, we're joined by Matt Lawton. Matt is an award-winning sports journalist with the Times newspaper. And joining us from Washington, D.C., we have Greg Swenson. Greg is chair of Republicans Overseas UK. Kevin, to you, first of all, you played in all of these stadiums across Canada and the United States, all over North America. Give us your view of what we can expect from a World Cup there.
Well, the obvious one is lots of travel, and which is the main negative, I suppose, the distance for fans. But the positive is the stadiums, the organisation, full houses, good atmospheres. Really well run. Different to what us in Europe, Ireland, England would experience in pre-games and how it's run before games and the build-up to matches, the 2 or 3 hours tailgating. Really different experience, but a good one as well. And football-wise in America, or soccer, as they want to call it, is it's really good. It probably gets overlooked. We're all a bit snobby about it, but they're very passionate about it. Way more knowledgeable than we maybe give them credit for. No, overall, from that side, but from the football side of it, games, stadiums, organisation, I think it'll be class.
And you swapped the English Premier League to go and do something adventurous and different with your family. You had an amazing experience there.
Yeah, I couldn't, I have nothing bad to say about it. Very lucky, Colorado, what a place to go live. But, we travelled everywhere. As I said, we were obviously in Canada as well, in Montreal and Toronto, Vancouver, all fabulous places. There's going to be games there as well, not just obviously in the USA, we're going to be down in Mexico. But yeah, I didn't have a bad experience in any of the cities, states, wherever we went. Just, it surprised me, just the amount of football fans in America. You just have a perception when you're playing in England that, there's going to be poor knowledge of football when you go over there, and people aren't going to be as passionate, but they are. Now, listen, the negative is away fans at games. When you're playing in the MLS, you don't get that. And I'd imagine in America, the World Cup, going to Canada, it's going to be the same for fans of teams who want to travel and go there. It's going to be difficult to get from one game to the other because you could be thousands of miles apart in each game. So that side of it is going to make it difficult. But just from the organisation, atmosphere matches, slightly different, but good in its own way.
Thanks, Kevin. Matt, to you, is there a danger this World Cup is going to become President Trump's World Cup? We hear very little conversation about Canada and Mexico. One president is dominating this, and it's not the FIFA president.
No, it's true. And obviously the draw in Washington the other week was slightly strange. I appreciate all three premiers were there, but the peace prize that he was given, despite the fact that we still don't actually have peace in Ukraine and Russia yet, that was all a bit surreal. And even this kind of veiled threat that if there's any kind of civil unrest in American cities, that he could move games. So there is a slightly odd relationship between Infantino and Trump. Look, I appreciate that any major tournament organizer has to have a relationship with the people running the particular host country. But it is a little odd. And the fact that Trump is now overseeing this debacle over ticket prices, it's extraordinary how much fans are going to be charged to come. £3,000 in excess of for the cheapest ticket to the final has been a big story here. And ultimately that's down to the Americans. FIFA are setting the prices, but they're doing it with the blessing of the hosts. And I find that slightly troubling.
Christina, this is going to be an expensive tournament for a lot of fans travelling from Europe and elsewhere, isn't it?
Indeed, absolutely. Actually, it's going to be the most expensive World Cup ever in history. Just to give you an idea, I read an article a couple of days ago on the BBC that explained that for just one person to follow England throughout the whole tournament, they will have to spend up to £5,000 just in tickets. Now, for example, if we compare it to previous World Cups, just one ticket to the World Cup final in Qatar cost around 1,600 euros, more or less. Compared to the World Cup in Russia 4 years earlier, it costed around 1,200, 400, more or less. Now, in this case, in the World Cup in the US, Mexico, and Canada, the minimum price that one person is going to pay for a ticket in the final is going to be 4,000 euros. It's crazy. It's something that on average a family cannot afford. And when you think about the World Cup, it's a celebration of sport and football, and you want to share, let's say, with your children. So an average family cannot afford to enjoy the tournament properly.
Greg, President Trump wants everyone's social media and email addresses. Why is he doing this?
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a taunt. It's typical of the president, to just sort of throw out some ideas and make a point. I think what he's trying to do is suggest that security will be tight. I'm not sure they can possibly go through with this idea of checking social media. There's a little scar tissue because, several of the assassinations that we've had here and assassination attempts, there's been social media profiles that were being followed by some law enforcement agencies. And I think there's some, a little sensitivity to that, but I don't see it happening. I'm with Christina on this. I think you ramp up security at the stadiums. That's just kind of part of the new world we live in. But I don't think going in, doing these background checks, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think the president will proceed with that.
And Greg, just for anyone looking to travel to the United States this summer, give us some reassurance. Footy fans, soccer fans the world over, they will be made welcome, yeah?
Oh, absolutely. This is a big moment for the U.S. I mean, you have it coinciding with the 250th birthday of the country. And then, of course, hosting the World Cup. We hosted the World Cup in 1994. But the big difference is now I think football is a much bigger part of the culture here. I think most young men, much younger than me, have a favorite football team in the English league. I think the women's game is enormous here. The women's World Cup team is much more famous, obviously. They've won 4 World Cups. So it's a massive women's game, and it's a massive game for young women. And then, of course, it's really caught on as for male athletes, not as much as players, but as fans, as viewers. So, this is night and day from 1994.
Thanks, Greg. Kevin, to you, have you any concerns about the quality being diluted with more countries coming in? 48 in total.
In a biased way, it's slightly helpful for Ireland. I think Europe only gets an extra slot, 1 or 2 extra spaces. They've been divided across the world more so. But I do. I would like to. I think it was enough teams now. He's gone to 64, if I'm right on this. It's a lot of football till you get to the knockout stages and the games you really want to see. But I can see why they're doing it. They're trying to give more countries a chance, more fans, inspire more kids. I played football because of that World Cup in USA in 94, because of Italia in 90, because Ireland qualified for it. It's the reason I was inspired to become a footballer. So I can see the bigger picture as well. But from a fan and a quality point of view, going to 64 does dilute it.
Matt, to you, just back to President Trump and his influence on everything. We saw him present the trophy at the Club World Cup when Chelsea won it. He was front and centre at the key moment. Normally, it's the boss of FIFA who hands over the trophy, but I think it might be a bit different in the United States this summer.
Yeah, although I would be surprised if he was presenting it, the World Cup, that is, but I don't know. Yeah, it's Trump's America right now. There are other aspects, I have to say, of his administration or his previous administration that have been quite positive for sport. The Americans are absolutely leading the way in the crackdown on doping. They brought in something called the Rodchenkov Act, which his administration signed off on, which actually criminalises the distribution of banned drugs, something I write about quite a bit. So it's not all bad. Yeah, as I say, I think we were slightly embarrassed by that draw in Washington. It was all a bit of a pantomime, and there were moments when we cringed a bit. But as I say, I think it's more the fan experience that the Americans do need to be sure of. We've written a story about the fact that for the first time ever in the history of the World Cup, they're trying to charge for fan zones, these areas where fans gather sometimes before a match, but it's often provided for fans that can't get tickets, but you kind of get that World Cup atmosphere. And the fan park in New Jersey are trying to charge $12.50 per person to attend. That has always been free. So things like that, and we're still waiting to hear whether that's FIFA's decision or the Americans' decision to be charging. But again, I think what we have to be mindful of is that they're not trying to make too much money out of the people that will actually, beyond the players, of course, make it a great tournament. Who are the fans?
Christina, to you, for football fans travelling, they will have already spent a lot of money on an airfare, on hotel accommodation, if they've been lucky enough to get tickets. Every pound, euro and dollar counts. Give me your thoughts on charging for fan zones. You've covered so many Champions League finals. They are free to get into.
Well, The thing is that for the fan zones, you can go in for free, and you usually have concerts organized by the two different teams that are facing off in the Champions League final. In here, it's totally different. Now, take into consideration the price of the tickets that we're going to have in this World Cup in 2026, the most expensive tickets ever. Now, you have to add the hotel rooms and all the travel and, I don't know, trains and planes, etc. It's insane. One of the things that FIFA and UEFA claim always is football is for the fans. Well, in this case, we're not taking into consideration the fans, or at least the average fan. Just getting a ticket for a World Cup is super difficult. But if you have to add these expensive tickets, wow, it's insane. And also, they have requested more than 20 million tickets already. So there is a clear demand that people want to go to the US, to Canada, to Mexico to enjoy this tournament. But I would like to know exactly the percentage of these 20 million people that can really afford to buy the tickets. And in the previous World Cups and in the Champions League finals, we have a fixed system of prices. So let's say you have tier 1, tier 3, 2, 4, etc. And this is the price. But in this 2026 World Cup, FIFA has implemented a new dynamic pricing system that is going to increase the price of the tickets regarding the demand of this game. So let's say, for example, that, I don't know, England and Argentina will face in the quarterfinals. Obviously, this is going to be more expensive. That I'm going to make it up, okay? And with all due respect to all the countries, Paraguay and France, for example, it is not fair, okay? The tickets should be exactly the same for each stage of the tournament. And
Thanks,
of course,
Christina.
dividing it in the categories.
Thank you. Greg, to you, President Trump has said that if he has any security concerns about cities hosting games, he will not hesitate to move matches. That's unprecedented. And I'm guessing, we know you're a Republican, but I'm guessing when he says cities, he's talking about Democrat-run cities, yeah?
Yeah, that's a great question. And most of the big cities in America are Democrat-run. So I don't know that there's any games being played in Republican-led cities. There might be some red states, obviously. But yeah, again, I think the president likes to taunt. I think he's challenging the mayors to get organized. And these cities can be cleaned up. If you look at what he's done in Washington, D.C., it's fantastic. What Governor Newsom did in California when his comrade Xi came from China, he actually cleaned up San Francisco. He proved that he could, that it can be done. And so I think it's just a challenge. I don't think he'll really move any games. The one threat in particular was Boston, which had experienced a real crime wave, or at least a surge right before the draw 2 weeks ago. And the reality is the games being played in Boston are not really in Boston. They're in Foxborough, which is where the New England Patriots American football team plays. It's a good hour from Boston, out in a very rural area close to Rhode Island. So no, I think that's just the president challenging these mayors to get organized.
And Greg, just on a personal note, you're originally from Chicago, Illinois. You were really hopeful that your city might have got a game, but Chicago's not on the list.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, going back to 6 or 8 years ago when we were, the U.S. was pitching for the World Cup, I do believe that the mayor decided that the fees to be paid were too high. I think that was a big mistake because you make your money back with the economic activity. So that's really too bad. And Chicago, of course, is experiencing a really difficult crime surge. So I'm not sure it would have been the perfect place. But again, I think the mayor and the governor would be quite capable of cleaning up the city. They did it for the Democrat convention last year, and it's amazing. If there's a will, there's a way.
Thanks, Greg. Kevin, there are still a few playoff places left to be decided in March. Ireland, our beloved Ireland, is in there. Turkey also fighting it out, and even Italy, someone that has been missing from several tournaments now. These playoff places are a great idea, really, aren't they? They've kept interest in it for a lot of countries.
Yeah, I would have preferred if it was an automatic qualification and not a playoff. Yeah, it keeps it alive for us. It's a weird one. Like we're watching the draw, our managers over in America, the Irish managers in America, Heimer Grimson is over watching the draw, and we're not there because we're a maybe. And not only one playoff game, we have a semi-final and a final. So it's a big if. But if we play like we did in the last two games against Portugal, from an Irish perspective, against Portugal and Hungary, it feels like we were there when we beat Hungary at the last kick of the game, but we've a couple of tough games to go. But if we get to the final of the playoffs, it's at home, it's in Dublin, so we have a great chance. Said it keeps interest alive for us right up till the end of March. It will be a big come down though if we don't make it, and it'll be sad, depressing to watch. Everyone travel to America and enjoy it, and sit back here in Ireland and what could have been.
Matt, to you, talk us through who you think is going to win. Obviously, all eyes on the reigning champions Argentina. France will be strong again. Your England won't be far off, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think England have a chance. They have very, very good players, but at the same time, I've been covering the England team since 2000, and this kind of period they've had where they've reached a semi-final, two European Championship finals, and an England a World Cup quarter-final is pretty unprecedented. The idea that run can continue, however much success Thomas Tuchel has had, I find, if it happens, I'll be pleasantly surprised. But there are some brilliant players: Declan Rice, Bellingham. If Harry Kane can stay fit, they have a chance. At the moment, they don't even know where they're going to base themselves. That's the thing. There's all this uncertainty still, and England is still trying to work out exactly where their training camp's going to be, because they're waiting on other countries to decide where they want to be. So again, the whole thing is quite logistically quite challenging, and there's even talk that England will sort of go on this kind of road show after the group stages and use training grounds at each stadium so that they're not having to fly back after each game, which from a performance perspective is an interesting approach. I just pity the logistics guys that have got to keep packing up the skips and everything every time they move on. That's assuming they keep winning. But we'll see. They have a chance.
Christina, your country, Spain, reigning European champions. How much confidence is there in this Spanish team?
Well, we trust them. Yes, it is true that we are in a good cycle. We can say right now we have some key players doing a fantastic performance. I'm not 100% sure if whether or not they will make it to the final, because like we just said, Argentina are the reigning champions right now. France is also in a really good shape. They have extraordinary players such as Ousmane Dembélé, the current Ballon d'Or winner, the FIFA the best winner as well, Kylian Mbappé. What can we say about Kylian Mbappé, etc. And also I would add to the table Germany. They're always there. No matter what they have done in the last 3 years, they're going to be pushing to make it to the final.
Thank you. Greg, just as we wrap up the conversation, people looking in from all over the world will be fascinated to see what Trump's World Cup looks like. But this is a big, proud moment for the United States. As you said, your 250th anniversary. America needs to get this right.
Yeah, absolutely. And in some ways, it's a warm-up for the Olympics 2 years later. But I think this is bigger than the Olympics, given that they play all over the country, plus Canada and Mexico. Yeah, it's a great showcase for America. I think the president's very proud of this. And he was, very involved in securing the game, the World Cup. And I think in many ways, President Trump's an entertainer. He owned an American football team, the New Jersey Generals, back in the 80s. He's put on, his own beauty pageants. I mean, he is in this business in many ways. So it's a great moment for him, but more importantly, it's a great moment for the country. And again, I think you'll see a different America than in '94, because in '94, it was an introduction to football. But now in 2026, you have a country that's, fairly fanatical about football. Maybe not quite as much as the Europeans, but it's close.
Thanks, Greg. Final question to you, Kevin. Just sum up for us your excitement for European fans, people from Africa, South America, heading to the United States, Canada, Mexico. You've played in these stadiums, Kevin. Just what can people expect that's going to really stand out?
What's going to stand out? Hopefully the football, Enda. World Cups generally are pretty good. Once you get through the first opening games, I think from a football fan, from from watching it, it's going to be totally different atmosphere between Canada, America, and Mexico. If you're to go there and travel there and try to get there from Ireland, if we happen to qualify, it's going to hit you in the pocket when you travel from Ireland and then go to Mexico, then go to America, then go to Canada, which is a good possibility for us if we qualify. It's going to be tough. So that side, but I don't think you're going to have too many of the average fans there. But there's a population in America that's big enough to go and make this tournament special without fans from all over the world needing to be there, I suppose. So
Kevin,
I'll be watching it. I won't be there. I'll be working for it. I'll be in Ireland working with Irish TV on it, but I'll still enjoy it.
And Kevin, you've seen real growth in the game in the United States across the seasons you played in MLS?
Yeah, and everywhere we went, no matter what city, big cities, small cities, full houses, great facilities, lovely stadiums. But the most impressive thing was, people on seats. That's what surprised me. I didn't think we were going to have, places like Seattle. The atmosphere in Seattle at games was as good as any game in England. So, I said I was surprised, and it changed my opinion on football in the US. And I think this World Cup hopefully will have the same for everyone else in the world.
Bring it on. Kevin Doyle, Christina, Greg, and Matt Lawton, thank you all so much for joining us on this roundtable, and a happy new year to you all. Remember, you can see more discussion and debate on our YouTube channel. Just search for Roundtable TRT World. But for now, from me, Enda Brady, and all the team here, goodbye and thank you for watching.